So you have permission to dream. I would say actually you have more than permission. I would say you have a mandate. Hopefully that's not too strong of a word. Um, and I want to explore this today because I think that this is one of the most misunderstood topics. So another button here I got to click because some weird thing popped up. Um, that's the new thing now. Now other things pop up and you got to click them away. So anyway, I think it's least understood, one of the least understood things in life is what I'm calling dreaming. We could call it desire and the relationship that one has with that. And if we don't have uh, the right kind of relationship with that, then to the degree that we're out of alignment with that, uh, we experience struggle and suffering. So I think it's a very important topic, hence the reason that I want to explore it. And so I hope that you're prepared for that. Uh, so I'll start by saying that I think that uh, society trains us to have two types of relationships with this, well, I'll call it desire for now. And these two types of relationships are equally dysfunctional. They're kind of flip sides of the same thing, really. And so most of us tend to flip flop between them, although many of us will have a preference for one over the other. And what I want to propose to you is, after we explore those a little bit, then I want to propose to you another way and why I think that the old way or ways are dysfunctional and fundamentally can never give us the satisfaction that we're really looking for, and why this other way can actually give us the real satisfaction and fulfillment that we actually long for. But many of us have grown cynical and wonder or worry that perhaps it may not actually be possible for us. But I think that it is possible. And like I said, I think it's not only possible, I think that it's a requirement. I think that that's what this life is about. I think that it's through that new relationship with desire and to actually allow for the fulfillment of that, that we actually fulfill the purpose of this life. Otherwise, I think we just kind of stay stuck. And I think that's what happens to most of us is that we just kind of keep ourselves stuck out of fear and out of a lack of clarity about any other possibility. So I want to start with these uh, two options that society typically teaches us in regard to desire. Uh, and so one of those, of course, is probably familiar. I mean, both of them are familiar to us, but I'll start with the one that is probably most obvious and familiar to most of us, which is that we are encouraged to have all kinds of superficial and borrowed desires, and we're uh, taught and coerced to nurture this kind of dysfunctional relationship. This is what we're bombarded with all the time, from the cradle to the grave. I mean, you start out sucking your thumb and you're given the television and even all the packaging, all of it has things to seduce you, to make you think that if you just seek out more of this, then that's going to finally give you what it is that you're really looking for. So, uh, this is what we're given through advertisements and through all kinds of marketing, and this is what we're given through schools and from our parents and through religious institutions and governments and nonprofits and so on and so forth. They're telling us what we should want. They tell us that if we want these things, then we are good and we work hard and we are worthy and deserving and we earn it and so forth and so on. Then finally one day, maybe cross your fingers in the future, you might get a little bit of something worthwhile. Um, but it doesn't really work out that way, does it? I mean, if it did, you wouldn't be here now, right? I mean, you'd just be enjoying the fruits of all of that, but it just didn't work out. And we're taught though that we should. It's just because we didn't try hard enough. It's because we didn't work long enough and hard enough, and we need to brush up on the latest and greatest of whatever. Now you got to know about AI. You got to if you want to keep up and not fall behind. You got to learn about AI and you got to know how to use AI because otherwise it's all over for you, buddy. I mean, might as well just might as well just roll over and give up at this point if you're not on the AI bandwagon. So, but it's always something. It's always something that we're taught that we should be. And this is the classic keeping up with the Joneses. You're taught that you need something, and and you look around and you say, well, what is the something? And other people are saying, well, we've figured out what the something is. Look how happy we are. Look how contented we are, which is pretty sure not true. But that's the lie that not everybody, but most people are perpetuating. Oh, look at me. I'm so successful. I'm so happy. I'm so everything's working out really great for me. You should be doing what I'm doing. You should be wanting what I'm wanting. You should be pursuing the things that I'm pursuing. And then you too could have the kind of profound happiness that I have. Never mind the fact that next month it's going to be some other thing that I'm pursuing. Forget about that for the moment. Just pursue what it is I'm pursuing now. So I think probably that's familiar to all of us. But it really is worth investigating this regularly and because if you just take it at surface level, then it's not going to uh, help you as much as if you really contemplate this and explore this on a regular basis, because you'll get so many uh, more practical insights that you can then work with and apply to get real changes in your life. And if that doesn't make any sense to you just yet, then it will if you continue to stick around and explore these things. If you're somebody who is still thinking that you're going to get the quick fix if you just do the next ayahuasca retreat or if you just do the next, whatever it is, whatever the thing is, if you think you're going to get the quick fix doing that, then what I have to share is obviously not going to be for you. But if you're somebody who has this uh, growing awareness and recognition that chasing after the quick fixes is not actually giving you a very quick fix, really. It's actually just digging you into a deeper hole of despair. If you realize that, then what it is that I'm sharing really can change your life. Well, you have to change your life, but you can change your life by working with what it is that I'm sharing. But it's not a quick fix. This is not something that you're gonna, do the one thing one time and then amazingly, remarkably, the heavens part and the angels choirs are singing, and forever and ever you're just living in ecstasy and bliss. Uh, I can't say that that couldn't happen. It could, but statistically, it's highly unlikely. And even more importantly, I think this is very, very important, is even if that happened, you don't have any guarantee that it's going to stick around. And if you don't know how you did that, then you're not going to be able to repeat that if needed, right? If you get to the Hallelujah Angels Choirs state and you like that and that's what you're looking for, I'm not so sure that that's what we should be pursuing. But let's just say that you think that's what you need, and you get that. But you don't know exactly how you ended up there. When it goes away, and let's just be honest about it, it probably will, then you don't know how to get back because you don't know how you got there in the first place. And that's why I really personally am an advocate for the slow and steady approach because then you're actually learning and then you know how to do it. It's a repeatable thing rather than just just happened because somebody snapped their fingers or whatever, but you don't know how to do that. So I think that's much, much more valuable than just getting the outcome. I think knowing how to do it is far more valuable than just having the outcome. But most people miss that because, again, most people are seduced by the idea of the quick fix. Most people are seduced by the idea of the superficial and borrowed desires. If you just get this thing, then you'll be happy. But it's just not really the truth. So that's the one aspect. The other, so I said there were two kinds of relationships that society teaches us to have with desire. So the one is what I just briefly touched upon, which is to have to chase after shiny objects, to chase after the borrowed desires, the superficial ideas. The second relationship is what we could call, by a variety of names, I could say suppression, denial, fear, blankness. I could call it trauma. I could call it by a lot of different names. But let me elaborate a little bit. So we came into this life without knowing anything about society's perversion and sickness. Okay, we didn't know anything about that. We didn't know the rules because the rules are perverted and sick. The rules are just moronic. We didn't know anything about those rules. There was no way for us to anticipate those rules. So we came into this life, and the only thing that we knew was truth. It was the only thing we knew. There was nothing else. We didn't know that, oh, I'm supposed to put on a mask and put on a performance, and I'm supposed to get approval from everybody, and I'm supposed to follow these rules. We didn't know anything about that. We couldn't have. But we get taught real fast, right? Society teaches us really, really, really fast. And in so many ways that to us now seem extraordinarily subtle. They're not really that subtle, but they seem to us extraordinarily subtle because we've been faced with them so many times. I mean, countless times, really. I mean, it's like it's got to be. I mean, I say countless, but it's got to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if not tens of millions of times that we've been confronted with all these rules and expectations and the punishments and the threats. And again, they might seem subtle to us now. So that's why, because they might seem subtle, you might not readily recognize what it is I'm talking about. So I just want to elaborate briefly on it. And this is not in any way meant to be an exhaustive list, but just to start to point to the kinds of things that we've all dealt with. So we were all taught that uh, because we every single one of us, uh, I guess there's a possibility of an exception, but you're not that exception because if if you were that exception, you wouldn't be here. There's just no way you would be here right now in this meeting or watching this video. So there might be exceptions, but you're not that exception. Uh, so every one of us who's here listening to this or attending this right now, uh, we, every one of us, were surrounded by big people, adults. So we were these tiny little people, and we were surrounded by these big people who were emotionally insecure and immature. Okay, that's just the truth of it. That's not meant to be a negative judgment against the the people, it's just I think, an honest assessment of what we're actually dealing with. So this world is populated overwhelmingly by emotionally insecure and and immature people. And so that's the state of the world that we found ourselves in. And because of that, the people around us didn't genuinely didn't understand that they were behaving in insane ways. They had no clue that they were creating for us all of these double binds and all kinds of insanity that was almost impossible for us to navigate. Well, I will say impossible for us to navigate in a way that would result in good emotional and mental health or physical health or relational health or any of that. Because in order for us to navigate that, we had to contort ourselves. We had to suppress what was natural and true to us. We had to learn how to hide. We had to learn how to pretend. We had to learn how to perform because that was necessary for our survival. So we were surrounded by these people, and these were our parents and our grandparents and our extended family and our siblings and our teachers and our religious leaders and the people on television and the people on social media and so forth and so on. All these people, everywhere you looked. If you had one sane person in your life, you were very fortunate because most people don't even have one sane person in their life. And so that was the condition that we found ourselves in. And so there we were, not understanding, not having any way to anticipate the rules that we were going to be confronted with, or the insanity that we were going to be confronted with. And then we were faced with rejection, disapproval, and threats anytime that we were just simply ourselves, unless being ourselves just so happened to be pleasing to others, which time, every once in a while might happen, but wouldn't be reliable or predictable. And so most of the time, what we were dealing with was trying to understand and manage the unpredictable world that we were living in, and the insanity and the violence and the threats, perceived at least. Hopefully we weren't dealing with genuine threats, but we certainly had a lot of reason to perceive them. Because again, we were tiny little people, and we were surrounded by all these big people. And as a tiny little person, what chance do you have to survive on your own? None, right? I mean, you're not going to feed yourself. You're not going to clothe yourself. You're not going to shelter yourself. You're not going to defend yourself against predators. It's just not going to happen. So you were completely dependent on these insane people. And these people were giving you all kinds of signals, letting you know that if you want to continue to receive their support, then you have to perform. You have to put on a mask. You have to try to navigate, anticipate, and understand their emotional instability. And you have to try and manage that. So you have to know, you have to sense how are these people feeling? What are they thinking? Before they're even aware of it. So that you can try and manipulate the situation so that you can keep their approval and therefore their support and their protection. So we learned that it's not safe to be ourselves. It's not safe to actually have experience, and certainly not to express or pursue our own genuine, authentic desire. Now, if that's not already clear to you, so for those who are here live, would you let me know in the chat? Would you just let me know yes or no? There's a spider back there. Would you let me know yes or no? If yes, you can recognize what it is that I'm describing here from your own experience, or no, that doesn't make any sense to you. So I got yeses, 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 yeses. Got one no. Great. but mostly yes. We got a most definitely yes. A maybe. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes and no. What's the question? Caught you napping. The question is, yes or no, do you recognize what it is that I'm describing in your own experience? And if you don't know what I'm describing, then I can't go back and go through the whole thing. Yeah. Okay, great. Great. So for the one person who says no, it's interesting because for the person who says no, we've had uh we've had enough personal exchanges that I I must just not have described it correctly because I know that what I described actually actually fits for you. For just think about this. Keep it really simple. Your parents uh, pressured you. Oh, you said yes. Okay, great. Yeah, but just to make it again, just to make it clear for anybody who's not sure, your parents put pressure on you to conform to their expectations, to do what they wanted. Why? So that they could feel whatever they thought they needed to feel that they thought depended on you performing a certain way, right? And so over time, you learned to just perform because if you didn't, then you got punished. Either you were, sent to your room, or you were grounded, or you were, hit, or you were, had things taken away from you, or you just got the silent treatment, or you were told that, that God hates you, or what, some trip was laid on you. And so you learned that it was better for you to conform to their rules and expectations. And maybe for some people, at a certain point, that you might have justified that and said, "Well, I'm just putting on the act just to appease them, but I know secretly within myself that I'm going to remain true to myself." But over time, that gets eroded. And after many years, decades even, of repeating the same patterns, just seeking to get the approval and to not be abandoned or not be punished by other people. Starts out with the parents and then the teachers and then the lovers and then the spouse and then the children and the neighbors and the employers and the colleagues and the employees and the people at the church and on, right? It just extends to everything and everyone. You don't want anybody to know that you have opinions that differ from theirs, that you have desires that differ from theirs, that you anything. You don't want them to know. And after that goes on for long enough, you've lost yourself. And you don't even know any longer what you actually want because you just took on it goes back to now borrowed desires. You just do you what do you want? You want what your spouse wants. What do you want? You want what your parents want. What do you want? You want whatever is safe, whatever is going to be approved of. And you don't even know that you're doing that until it starts to dawn on you and you realize and you start asking these questions of like, why am I so unhappy? Why am I so unfulfilled? Despite oftentimes achieving a lot of so-called success. You can tick off the boxes. Well, I did this thing, I did that thing, I did this other thing, I did all the things. I've got all the things. Why do I feel so empty inside? Why do I feel so unfulfilled? Why is it that I kind of struggle to get out of bed in the morning? And you start to maybe realize that you don't even know what you want. So, and again, if that's not clear to you, then it will become clear to you as long as you continue to work with what it is that I'm proposing to you. I'm not telling you that this has to be your truth or anything like that. I'm just proposing that you sincerely explore this for yourself, and I believe that there is a close to 100% likelihood that if you explore this sincerely, you will start to realize how true this actually is for you. And the reason I have such a high degree of confidence about that is, like I said earlier, the this is something that affects the overwhelming majority of humanity, and the likelihood that somebody who is not affected by this being here in this meeting or watching this video is pretty close to zero. So therefore, it's got to be almost 100% match. So now, these are the two things that society offers us in relationship to desire. You can either chase after the borrowed desires or superficial desires, whatever is not actually yours, because that's not a threat to society. Or the flip side is suppress. And you can, like I said earlier, they're really flip sides of the same thing. And maybe that becomes clear. I mean, they work together in tandem to create the same outcome, which is that you feel empty and unfulfilled, despite the fact that you work really, really, really hard. You do all the right things. You've done all the things that you thought were supposed to give you what you want. But here's, the big reveal is if you are chasing after something that you think you want, but it's not what you actually want, then when you get it, is that going to fulfill you? Clearly no, right? If you're chasing after something and that's not what you want, when you get it, it will not fulfill you because it's not for you. It's not what you want. But this is what we are faced with. We've suppressed what we really want. So we're not telling the truth about that. We're not pursuing that. Instead, we're chasing after the things that we don't want. And so even when you get those things, you end up unfulfilled. And this is why so many people have done all the work, they've done all the things, they've ticked off all the boxes, and then they end up in this state that's really, really difficult to be in. And I know because been there, done that. Of, oh my goodness, I've built this entire life of all this so-called success, and it's just a giant mess that I don't want. And I just feel empty, hollow, awful, depressed, miserable, burned out. So this is why I so often come back to this important, what I view as this really important question is what is it I really want, or what is it that I truly desire? And I think that for most of us, we don't even really know how to work with that. And that's why I want to take a little bit of time today to explore this in more detail. Hopefully, I've set the stage for understanding why it's important, because the old way, the way that society has offered us, will never work. It's never going to actually give you the real fulfillment that you're looking for. It doesn't matter how hard you work. You could work so hard and you could do all the things that you think are supposed to give you what you want. You can go to extremes. You can do the Wim Hof, you can do the cold plunges, you can do the ketogenic diet, you can do the, intermittent fasting, you can go to do the ayahuasca retreat in Peru, you can do all the things. But unless and until you actually get clear and aligned with your own soul, none of that's going to actually be able to give you what you really want. It's just going to continue to aim you in the wrong direction. I mean, even if you, I know somebody's going to say, oh, but I did the ayahuasca retreat and it was amazing. Yes. Okay, great. So let's say you do the ayahuasca retreat and you have this breakthrough moment and you get this clarity and you realize, oh my goodness, my life's been this giant lie and giant deception. And I have suddenly this amazing clarity about my purpose and truth. Awesome. But then what happens? Then if you're here, then I already know what happens. Because if you're here, it's because you fell right back into the same old pattern. So it's not that I don't have a problem with ayahuasca. I don't have a problem with psilocybin. I don't have a problem with all the things. Some of the things I have a problem with. But the 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 question that I have is it actually producing the real sustained change and transformation in your life? And for 99% of the people, the answer is no. Can some of those things be useful? Absolutely. But if you're thinking, if I just do this thing, I'm going to get the result, you're fooling yourself. It could happen, but statistically, not a high likelihood, right? I mean, because how many people go do the ayahuasca retreats? A lot of people. I don't know how many people. It's tens of thousands of people. A lot of people. How many of them are living sustained positive transformation? I don't know the exact number, but I'd be willing to bet it's less than 1%. I can't prove, I don't have any facts to, statistics to back that up. But, uh, but in terms of real sustained transformation, it can't be a very high percentage. So what I propose is that it's it's really something much more fundamental. Instead of focusing on what are the what are the the big breakthrough things that I could seek out there, or what's the next workshop or the next retreat or the next book or the next this, uh, my proposal is actually look within yourself and consistently and get increasing clarity about what you actually want. Because without that, what's the likelihood that the next thing is actually going to deliver? It's so small, such a small likelihood. So, but if you have clarity about what you truly desire, then notice if you consistently take small actions aligned with that, then all of a sudden the likelihood of you achieving that dramatically increases. Dramatically. It's like if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go somewhere. Where are you gonna go? I don't know. Well, and, yeah, but I'll just start taking steps. Great. What's the likelihood you're gonna end up where you actually want to go? Well, pretty much zero, because you don't even know where it is. But if you know where it is and you consistently take steps in that direction, then the likelihood of you ending up there is dramatically higher. Hopefully that makes sense. So now, uh, I want to, like I said, I want to explore how it's possible to get clarity about what you want. So it's at the same time it's extremely simple and very complicated. So it's extremely simple in that it's really honestly just a matter of consistently and persistently inquiring with curiosity. What is it that I truly desire? If you do that consistently and persistently, then it's virtually impossible that you would not get greater clarity. And as I said, it's complicated at the same time. It's complicated because of all of the conditioning that misdirects you and misleads you, that has you uh, trying desperately, but albeit unconsciously, to avoid actually getting clarity about what you want. Why? It comes back to something that I was talking about earlier. So, this conditioning of suppression and avoidance of what it is that you actually desire is because you learned that it's unsafe to be yourself and to actually uh, pursue and express your authentic desire. You learned that it's unsafe. It's dangerous. If you actually were to align with your soul, if you were to actually know truthfully what it is that you desire, if you were to take action consistently aligned with that, if you were to actually have some healthy boundaries in your life, according to your nervous system, that equals torture and then death. That's what you learned. That's what society taught you. So, does it make sense then that your nervous system, your subconscious is trying to avoid having clarity about what you want? Because according to your nervous system, that would be the worst possible thing. Consciously, you'd like to know what you want, right? I mean, is there anybody here who consciously would not like to know what you want? All of us probably consciously would like to. And you've probably tried in various ways to get clarity about what you want. But subconsciously, you don't want that at all. It's the last possible thing that you want because that, according to your nervous system, equals torture and then death of the worst possible kind. So, kind of got to deal with that, wouldn't you say? I mean, if you don't deal with that, then you just are going to forever remain stuck. Because consciously you say, I want to know what I want. Subconsciously, no way. So consciously, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. It makes perfect sense. I'll just allow myself to. I mean, here's I'll give you the basic formula that I recommend. It's every day, handwrite, and some of you are gonna say, I won't handwrite. Fine, you can do it digitally, but I think you'll get better results for the most part if you handwrite it. But if you refuse to do that, then do it some other way. It's fine. Uh, but I would recommend handwrite and just start with whatever comes up. You don't even, I usually will say handwrite with the prompt, what is it that I truly want or what is it that I truly desire? But I would say take a step back and just start with just write whatever comes up. Because for most of us, we have so suppressed just our intuitive voice, our intuitive self, that we need to first just start to let that flow. And then we can allow that to start to express specifically about what it is that we truly desire. But just start with whatever comes up. Some people are going to say, "What do you mean, whatever comes up? What, give me more instruction." No, just whatever comes up. Whatever comes up. Whatever comes up. But I know that people are like, that doesn't make any sense. That's scary. That's how much society has taught you to suppress your authentic self. Because think how simple the instruction is. Just write whatever comes up. Whatever comes up. Anything. Whatever it is that comes up. Couldn't get much simpler than that. But most people's minds say, uh, tell me more. I don't understand. Because it seems too dangerous. It seems too scary and threatening. Because, again, society taught us your authentic self is unsafe. It's going to get you in trouble. It's going to cause you to be punished and then tortured, and then you'll die miserable. So, uh, but here's the thing: is understand how this is so low pressure. You don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to act on anything. The instruction is just write whatever comes up. That's it. That's all that's involved. So you don't even have to go back and read it. You certainly don't have to do anything with it. It's just about allowing that intuitive voice to begin to express. Period. That's it. If you just did that one thing consistently, that would start to produce this shift. But I'm gonna give you some more pointers for this because I know where I have gotten hung up, and I've seen where many other people have gotten hung up in this process. Because the next step then would be to actually start to investigate what is it that I truly want, and then to allow your intuitive self to express. It doesn't have to be through writing, but writing happens to be a pretty good tool for this. So to start, just whatever comes up. No other framework around that. It's just whatever comes up. People are going to say, well, how much do I write? How much will you write? Write at least that much, and don't try to write more than that. I mean, maybe find the edge. At least go to the edge. But uh, but here's a key to success in anything in your life is that uh, whatever it is that your habits are the huge force in shaping your life. And so uh, establishing the habits that actually align with your soul, let's say, is good for your success. So, how do you establish habit? Well, by doing it regularly. And if you want to establish a habit by doing the thing regularly, then you need to do it in a way that you will do it regularly. And so, but a lot of the time, what we've been trained by society is just get it done, just get it done, just get it done. And so we push ourselves trying to get things done because we think that's the way. If I just get it done, right? So this is what school taught us. School taught us, oh, and work. They teach us, oh, you got deadlines. The papers due, the homework's due, the assignments due, whatever the thing is due. And so we were taught, well, just get it done, just get it done. It doesn't matter what you got to do, just get it done. Uh, and we were rewarded for that or punished to the degree that we made good on that. So that was reinforced for us that that's the way. Just get it done. So if you got to pull an all-nighter, if you got to, starve yourself or whatever you got to do, just get it done. Do that. Self-abuse is rewarded and encouraged because that's the way that most of us learn to get things done. But then what? I mean, how many things did you just get done? And then what? And then nothing, right? I mean, like, how many papers did you write in school and you actually remember something about that now? Not a lot, right? I don't remember any of the papers that I wrote in school. Not a single one. I got them done, but I don't remember a single one of them. So just getting the thing done doesn't change your life. So again, society taught us the wrong thing. Well, I should point out, uh, I say society taught us the wrong thing. Society taught us the right thing from the perspective of society. I mean, society benefits from your state. I mean, society benefits from us uh, perceiving ourselves as helpless, powerless, discontent, frustrated. Because then you're like, well, you're much easier to manipulate that way. Much easier to sell things to you. Much easier to convince you to sell your time. And so society benefits from that, but you don't benefit from it. And so society taught you things that benefit society, but that don't benefit you. It's up to you to choose the things that are going to benefit you and to teach yourself that. And so, and it's oftentimes the opposite of what society taught us. So society said, just get it done. Doesn't matter what the cost, just get it done. And then you'll be rewarded. Here's your little treat. Good boy, good girl. And uh, and so you got that little, the little ding, 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 ding. It's like you went to the casino and you're like, oh, I pulled the thing, I pulled the lever, or the coins popped out, the sounds. Oh wow, I'm so happy. But it just keeps you going on the hamster wheel. Just keep chasing, 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 chasing after the next little ding, 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 ding. And it doesn't actually benefit you. So what will benefit you though is actually to find the ways to establish the habits that are aligned for you, aligned with your soul, that are nourishing, genuinely nourishing for you, not depleting. Society teaches you to deplete yourself, but to find the ways for yourself that actually are nourishing, and then to establish those habits. So, uh, so back to my suggestion of writing every day, allowing your intuitive self to express through writing, uh, whatever you're going to do consistently is what's going to give you the result. Because the goal here is to establish the habit of tuning into your intuitive voice. Because society taught you to deny it, suppress it, ignore it. So the habit that will support you is to tune into that. And how can you establish that habit? Well, in a, whatever way you can do that will be uh, rewarding and nourishing and sustainable for you on a regular basis. Not more than that. Because if you try to do more than that, then it will not be good for you because you'll be, oh, this is too much. This is painful. This sucks. I should do this, but I don't really want to. And therefore you won't do it. So so the question is, and I couldn't possibly know this for you. You have to ask yourself this question. What could you do with this suggestion? So I've given you a suggestion, and then it's up to you to figure out what could you do with that suggestion that will work for you on a regular basis. And like so I'm giving that suggestion, but and for many people that will work well. And some people will say, okay, I'm going to write, X number of pages, and some people will say I'm going to write for X number of minutes, and some people will say, screw writing, handwriting. I don't do that, but I could, dictate it through my AI agent or whatever. It's like, okay, fine, whatever you're going to do. Um, and some people are going to say, you know what, none of that actually is true for me. But what I, but what could be true for me would be that I could like, draw, or I could dance, or I could, whatever, there's your thing that allows for you to connect to that intuitive self. So I'm giving this suggestion as a starting point, and I do suggest that you use that as a starting point, but then it's up to you to find what is actually going to work for you in the spirit of that. Because the spirit, again, is to connect to your own soul, to your intuition, and to allow yourself to really establish a healthy relationship with that so that you can allow your intuition to express. And not just in some sort of rudimentary way. I mean, that would be a great start, but to allow that to continue to evolve in its sophistication so that you can continue to benefit from that in your life. So again, it's about a long-term habit. And how do you establish that? By finding the way that will work for you consistently. And that needs to be adequately enjoyable and rewarding for you. I say adequately because it's also important to keep in mind that whatever is unfamiliar to you, you're going to have resistance to. And so there's going to be some part of you that says, screw this, that's not enjoyable. I don't want to do that. Because that's just the challenge of something that's new. I mean, it's like if you spend all day sitting on the couch every day and you've done that for 10 years, and somebody says, you'd feel great if you would just go for a walk every day. And you're like, screw that. I don't want to go for a walk. That'd be hard. That's going to be unpleasant. So you have that resistance at first. But if there's some part of you that recognizes, well, you know what? I think actually that there's something there that could be useful for me. There's something that I really do feel called to. So then maybe you start exploring taking some steps every day, and you just find what's that edge for you. Because if you push beyond that by too much, then it backfires and you're like, ah, screw it, I'm never going for a walk again. But if you are willing to allow for some level of discomfort with the understanding that that discomfort is not bad. It's not actually a signal that this is something bad or undesirable for you, but rather it's just because it's unfamiliar. And if you're willing to explore that edge and just continue to explore that in a way that will be sustainable for you, then you start to move things, expand your capacity for experiencing joy and for your capacity for experiencing fulfillment. So I'm just pointing that out because I know uh, some people will react and say, "Oh, well, I can't do any of it because I have resistance to it, because it seems like oh, it might be uncomfortable." So just keep that in mind that the relationship with discomfort also is something that needs to evolve if you want to have uh, growth, let's say. So that's just what I would recommend as the starting point. And then as that evolves, I would say my suggestion is that you can start to ask the specific question, what is it that I truly desire? And that's a really big question. So I think that uh, it could be useful to also play with scope for that question. So there's just in general this question of what is it that I truly desire? That's really big. But you could also play with smaller scope, like what is it I truly desire right now? That might seem a little less daunting. And I think it's useful to play with the scope and you could ask that question in different scopes on a regular basis or explore different scopes at different time. Uh, and so, like right now, you could just ask that question, what is it I truly desire right now? And just notice what comes up. And my suggestion is that more than even the answer, what's important here is the process. Because this is the idea of, uh, you could either give a man a fish or you could teach a man to fish. So the giving a fish is like getting the answer. It's nice, feeds you for a day, right? You get the answer. Oh, that's so wonderful. I know what I desire right now. Okay, nice. But the process I propose is more important because the process is what allows you to connect to those answers regularly rather than just getting the answer once. So rather than focusing primarily on the answer or the outcome, my suggestion is be really curious about the process. When you ask the question, how do you ask the question? How do you listen or feel for the answer? Where does that answer come from? In what way does it come to you? What of your senses are engaged in that process? How do you evaluate the truth or value of the answer that you get? So if you're just curious about those things, then uh, I think that will actually be much more fruitful in the long term. So, and whatever comes up, so something comes up, and maybe you have conscious awareness of that, and maybe you don't. Right? So different people are going to be in different places in regard to that. Some people immediately are like, "Ah, oh, I know what I truly desire right now," and other people are going to say, "Are you kidding me? I have no idea." So it so any of that is okay. It's allowed. There's nothing wrong with you, and it doesn't mean anything good or bad about you either way. I just want to acknowledge that we're all going to be in different places in regard to that at different times in our lives. So whatever you notice is fine. It's okay. It's workable. Um, Now, if you happen to be somebody who you get that clarity right away of this is what I want right now. Uh, Great. So I'll come back to that in a moment. If you're somebody who says, I have no idea. I asked the question, but I don't seem to get a response, or I get whatever, whatever happens there. My invitation would be then, uh, just what if you were just to slow it down and allow it to be much simpler, lower stakes, very low pressure. You're not, I'm, you're not uh, committing to anything. You don't have to have the right answer. You, there's no pressure here whatsoever. If you ask the question and you really slow it down and you remove the pressure to perform, to get it right, the idea that you have to commit to something or anything like that, if you just really lower the stakes, does that help? Does that allow you to notice something? Because it really doesn't have to be big. And and it could be that the answer is that for some people the answer could be what do I want right now? Maybe it's this. Maybe what you want right now is this. So it doesn't have to be something else. And like I said, it doesn't have to be big. It could be really small or simple. So don't dismiss things just because you say, oh, that's too small. That couldn't be it. Certainly could be it, right? Because the question isn't what really big important thing do I want right now? No, it's just what do I want right now? Maybe you want a cup of coffee. Maybe you want to, feel the breeze on your skin. Maybe whatever, it doesn't have to be a big thing. So if you still don't have any sense of any clarity around that and any kind of answer, that's okay. Continue to explore it. Now, for anybody who does have some sense of clarity about some kind of answer in regard to that, then here's the next thing that I'll suggest. Notice what else comes up with that is not what you want. Okay, so there's what you want. You get some kind of answer about what you want, whatever that is. And then what also comes up with that is not what you want. This is a somewhat subtle point, but it's really, I have found that this is a huge key that unlocks a lot in this process. So, uh, so, so you notice what you want, and somebody here put in the chat, I just want to relax. So for anybody who's willing to share it, put it in the chat just so I can read them off so we can have some examples to work with. So we've got, I just don't want to relax. Somebody else says the fear that this is not sustainable long term. That's the resistance. Uh, that's the thing that comes up when for the person who wrote the fear that this is not sustainable long term, that you're saying that that's the thing that comes up along with what you want. Is that right? We've got somebody that says, yeah, great. Somebody says, I want to sit alone in the beach and feel the breeze. Great. Yeah. So, so now, like I said, notice what comes up with that is not what you want. So one person already shared that. So they didn't share what they want, but they shared what they don't want that comes up with that, which is that there's a fear that this is not sustainable long term. So there's the thing, whatever it is that this is what I want. But then along with that comes, it's like it's all packaged together. I want this, and what comes along with that is, oh, but it won't be sustainable long term, right? So that all gets packaged together. Somebody else says that it's not possible anytime soon because I'm not capable or something. Great. So there's what you want, and then what's packaged along with that is it's not possible anytime soon because I'm not capable. So So I'm inviting you to notice those things that are packaged with what you want that are what you don't want. And thanks to everybody who's sharing these things. So 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 just notice all the things. You'll start to when you really pay attention, you'll notice there's probably a lot that goes along with it. You know, if I say, okay, I want to go, I go use my example from before. If I just in the habit of sitting on the couch all day, and I get this idea, I'd really like to go for walks regularly. I'd really like to be able to enjoy going for walks. So what I want is to be able to enjoy going for walks. But what comes up with that is, oh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be unpleasant. Maybe I just can't do it. Maybe I'd get hurt, and I that would be a big disappointment, and I don't want that. And maybe I would embarrass myself. I'm so out of shape. I don't want people to see me. That would be really embarrassing. So all these other things start coming up along with it, right? So they all get packaged together as if they were all one thing. Is this making sense? If it's not making sense, let me know. So because this is really important because when what you want is associated with what you don't want, and it's all packaged together as if it was one thing, does that start to make sense why you have resistance to what you want? Because what you want, it turns out, is not actually what you want. I mean, in your mind, what you want turns out to not be what you want because you haven't yet clearly differentiated what you want from what you don't want. So if I want to enjoy going for walks regularly, in theory, that's just that, and that is what I want. But the trouble is that in my mind, no such thing exists. In my mind, there is no such thing as just going for walks and enjoying going for walks regularly. In my mind, what there is if I go for walks, it will be too hard, it will be unpleasant, I'll be humiliated, I might get hurt, etc. So the thing that I want doesn't actually exist in my mind. What exists in my mind is the package that is actually what I don't want. It has a it's like you have a suit if it would be like as if you had a suitcase. And the label on the suitcase is what you want. So the label on my suitcase is enjoying going for walks daily. Right? Looks really nice. But when I open it up, oh my goodness. Oh no. That's not what I want at all. Right? So the label is this is what I want, but as soon as you open it up, oh no, 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 I don't want that at all. Oh, it's going to be awful, painful. Better just to stay at home than to risk that. No, thank you. So this is, like I said, I think this is a very, very important point that almost nobody talks about. I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but I have consistently found that this is the biggest, one of the biggest obstacles. Um, because if you don't address this, then you're going to just stay stuck. Because consciously, you keep thinking, oh, yes, I want this, I want this, I want this, if you even get to that point. Most of us won't even allow ourselves to get to that point of even acknowledging what we truly want. But even if you get to that point and you acknowledge what you want, most people stay stuck there because they haven't clearly differentiated what they want from what they don't want. In their mind, it's all one package. It always goes together, and it's never differentiated. It's always just one thing, and therefore they don't want it. So they unconsciously resist what they consciously want because in their mind, there's no such thing as what they actually want. There's only the package that includes everything that they don't want. It'd be like, if Is there anybody here who doesn't, in theory, doesn't want $1 million? Everybody probably, in theory, you would like $1 million. Why don't you have $1 million? It's because of, just pay attention. It's because of all the things that you associate with that. Oh, I'd have to sell out. Oh, I'd have to work really hard. Oh, I'd have to do all the things I don't want to do. Oh, I'd have to, it's like all the things that you don't want are all packaged up in your mind with what you do want. Therefore, you reject what you do want. So, identifying all of the things, so before you can get to the point of identifying, making this distinction, you have to first allow yourself to start to connect to what you actually want. So I've hopefully made it clear my recommendation for how you could do that. Then, once you start to identify what it is that you truly want, the next thing would be to allow yourself to notice all the things that go along with that in your mind that turn out to be what you don't want, because that's a huge piece of what's blocking you. So when you, so I'll give you a relatively simple way to then start to work with this. So I would say, write out what comes to mind. Okay, so write out the things that you don't want that come to mind to you. They're currently packaged up with what you do want. And then based on that, and this is not a necessarily a one-time thing. This is an ongoing process because you'll continue to get increasing clarity about this as you keep working with it. But anytime you notice anything that's associated with what you do want that turns out to be what you don't want, write that down. And then you can use that to help clarify what it is that you do want. And what I mean by that is, I'll use my example of going for walks. So I, what I want is, I start out and I write down what I want is to enjoy going for walks every day. And then I notice, okay, here's all the things that are associated with that in my mind that are what I don't want. Oh, it's going to be painful. I'm going to be humiliated. Oh, it's going to be uncomfortable. Okay. So using that, then I can clarify for myself that what I actually want is something that's more refined than what I first thought. So now I know what I actually want is to go for walks on a regular basis in a way that I find to be safe, enjoyable, uh, easy. That I feel good about, not only physically but also emotionally. Um, so I'm getting a more refined clarity about what I do want. So I'm going to write that down because it turns out that's what I actually want. Right? Does that make sense? That's what I actually want. But in my thinking before, it was packaged up with all the things that I don't want. So I need to make it clear that what I actually want is this very clear thing. It's not the things that I don't want. It's what I actually want. I have to make that clear to myself. Now, of course, once I start to define that in this clear way, my mind is going to come up with more objections, right? My mind's going to say, well, wait a second, hold on, that's not possible. But until I've done that, until I've defined it clearly, I don't even give myself the opportunity to open up to new possibilities because I've automatically rejected it as long as I haven't investigated this. Because if I haven't investigated it, then it's all packaged up, what I want with what I don't want. And therefore I'll reject it. I'll say, oh, I don't actually want that. Consciously, I think I want it, but subconsciously, no, thank you. I'll just scroll Instagram. That's safe. And then I'll think to myself, what's wrong with me? Why do I procrastinate? Why don't I do the things that are healthy for me? Why don't I do the things that I think I want? Why do I scroll on Instagram? Because there's a part of me that's trying to protect me from what I don't want. There's nothing wrong with me. There's just a part of me that's doing its best to protect me from what I don't want. My job, therefore, is to get clear on what I do want and to distinguish that from what I don't want. So once I've defined what it is that I actually want, now my my next step is just to consistently allow myself to have an open mind to the ways in which that might happen. So there will be resistance. My mind's going to say, that can't happen. That's not possible for me. Why? Because I don't yet have evidence of that, at least not evidence that I acknowledge. I mean, because that's how it works. When you have evidence that demonstrates to you that something is possible for you don't have resistance, right? It's like if you know how to, if you know how to tie your shoes, then you don't have resistance to that. You have evidence that you have tied your shoes so many times. You had great success with it, right? You know that you can do that because you have the evidence. But if using my example, if I have this desire to take these enjoyable daily walks, but but I don't have evidence of that I acknowledge, then my mind's going to say, well, that's probably not possible for me. I mean, if it was possible for me, surely I have evidence of it. Since I don't have evidence, I guess it's not possible for me. That's just how our minds work. Right? It's like, well, I don't have evidence. I guess it's not possible for me. This is why it can be helpful, of course, if you can get evidence vicariously through other people. It's not the same as having your own evidence, but it can be really helpful. This is why if you have a support group of people who have overcome this particular challenge and they say, "Oh yeah, I had those experiences. I believed it wasn't possible for me either, but then look at me now. Look how much evidence I have that I can do this. I didn't have the evidence, but now I do." Then you say, "Well, gee, that's kind of like me. I don't have the evidence. But since, Bob, Joe, and Sally all had that same problem, but they now have evidence. Therefore, it's probably possible for me." So that can be really helpful. But but the basic mechanism is just if you don't yet have evidence that you acknowledge, then you're going to have resistance. So this is why then your job at this from this point forward is just to contemplate how it might be possible for you. In fact, you can, and this can be really powerful, you could contemplate how maybe in small ways it already has been true for you. Like if I have this idea of, oh, uh, I want to go for these daily enjoyable walks, but all I've done for my whole life is just sit on the couch. Therefore, I have no evidence that I could actually possibly do that. Then that becomes really, really difficult. How do I get from where I am, having no experience or evidence, to where I want to be? But one way to bridge that gap is to find evidence that I already have that I just wasn't acknowledging because for whatever reason, I was dismissing it or trivializing it. So I, I could explore, well, have I ever walked in my entire life? I'm like, well, I guess it depends on how you define walking. I did walk to the refrigerator and back. So there's that. Then if I start to think to myself, well, yeah, I guess I have walked to the refrigerator and back many times. In fact, every day I walk to the refrigerator and back. And then I think, okay, so I have evidence of walking. So I know that I can walk. Then the question is, have I ever walked in a way that was enjoyable? Well, I guess I got to kind of think about that. I'm like, well, yeah, there was that time when I was pretty excited about getting the leftover pizza and I felt some enjoyment as I was walking to the refrigerator. So all of a sudden, now I have some evidence that I've actually done the thing. It just wasn't to the scale that I thought it needed to be. But having the evidence can be really powerful. So, finding the evidence of experiencing or having what it is that you're wanting, even in a very small way, can be really powerful because then you can build on that. And in general, just exploring it, contemplating it with an open mind as to what what possibilities exist for me so that I could have or experience what it is that I want. Because there's still layers of limitations, things that you're believing are true that still need to be let go of and seen through. And if you just approach this with curiosity and creativity of how might it be possible, then your mind will come up with solutions to that. But again, this is a longer term play. If you're just expecting you're going to do it once for 5 minutes and then you're going to get the result magically, probably isn't going to work for you. So this is really just something to explore on a regular basis. Here's my promise, though. When you do that, not only will this allow you to experience more of what you actually want in life, but it has this compound effect where you actually learn how to learn to know what you want and to experience more of what you want. So it becomes easier. It's like there's a meta effect. It's not just the one thing, but it becomes easier for you to know what you want and to have and experience more of what you want because you become familiar and skilled with the process itself. And so you start to experience this compound uh, benefit in your life. So I think that it is extraordinarily uh, valuable and worthwhile. Hence the reason why I'm sharing it. So that's that that's what I wanted to share today. I do realize that this is a somewhat these are somewhat subtle points, but I really believe that for those who will work with these in a sincere and consistent way, that you will find that this does for you in your life what none of the other things were able to do, and that it will actually unlock for you a lot of the other things in your life. Because you might have other things in your life that could be useful, skills and knowledge and practices and things, but unless or until you unlock what it is that I've shared with you today, then a lot of those other things really can't work very well because of the reasons that I was talking about earlier. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what the destination or the goal or the outcome is that you desire, then you can take a lot of action, but the action is extraordinarily unlikely to actually result in what you want just due to lack of clarity. So through uh, working with what it is that I've shared with you today, you can have so much more clarity about the direction and therefore anything else that is empowering in your life will suddenly actually start to produce results because now you'll know what the direction is. It will actually aim you in the correct direction. So that's mainly it. Um, I will take questions. So if there are any questions that people have, you can post those in the chat and I'll take those questions. And then also I'll mention for people who are going to watch this on YouTube, um, I I recently created a free guide that covers I don't remember how many things are in there. A handful of things. I call it, I think I call it, this is not a good sales pitch. I call it the Rail Transformation Guide. It's a free um, it's a free guide that you can get access to, and it covers however many of these points. I think there's five key points that I believe in my own experience, both personally and in working with lots of people over a lot of years now. That these are the things that really unlock authentic transformation in your life. Kind of the thing that I shared with you today is one of those pieces in a lot more detail than I go to in the guide. But in the guide, I also offer, I think, four other key points. And so the point of this guide is to really save you a lot of time and unnecessary strain and effort. Because if you just focus on these things, these are the high leverage things that will actually allow you to get real transformation in your life. So you don't just have to chase after the next shiny object. So anybody who wants to get access to that, you can get that on my website, and I'll provide the link in the description on YouTube. Anybody who's already a subscriber to my email lists, you already have access to it. I sent that out to in an email last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. Don't have, if you don't know where it is and you want to get access to it, you can just reply to one of my emails and I'll send you the link to get it as well. Yeah. So for anybody who's got questions, I'll respond to those and then we're done. We'll wrap up for today. So I think there were some questions that were already in here, so I'll go back and find those. All right. I remember there was one. Yes. Okay. So I've got a couple of questions with regards to staying with the moment before the label. Can you give an example of this, please? Also, can you give me an example of how you stay with not knowing to? Examples make it easier for me to understand. Great. Um, yes. So, staying with the moment before the label. Uh, okay. So, uh, so I'll give you this example. Uh, I could have a thought or a habit of labeling my experience as physical discomfort. Okay, so there could be some sensation that I label as physical discomfort. And so now, of course, if having that label and the stories leads to the desired outcome, that's great. So there's not an inherent problem in stories or labels. But the point here is that if I have that label and the stories that go along with that of this is physical discomfort, if having that label is not producing the outcome that I want, let's say that I have had this label for 20 years and I've tried all kinds of things. I've tried all kinds of solutions. I've done the exercise program and the physical therapy and this you know nutritional supplement, and I went to did all the things, got all and it just has not produced the outcome that I'm looking for. Then my proposal is that it can be really useful to explore what the direct experience or more direct experience is prior to the label. So the label comes up physical discomfort. Uh, and immediately there's all kinds of other things that are associated with that, stories, images. So using this example to remain with the experience prior to the label is just to slow down internally and just to notice, what is it that I'm actually referring to with this label. So maybe then I notice, well, what I'm actually referring to is sensation that seems to have a location, so I could notice that. Now that's also label, right? There's sensation, location, those are labels. But I just going to explore this in steps. So I notice, okay, prior to the label of physical discomfort, there's sensation and location. So I just notice that. And whatever things are associated with that. So other mental images, stories, things that are associated with that, they all are there. Then I'm maybe that's sufficient. Maybe just noticing that opens things up for me, because the my intention with this is not to uh, have some sort of theoretical uh, outcome. My intention is very practical. I want a practical result. I want to feel better. That's basically it. So if I get that result, then I'm happy with that. So I'm just making the point that this isn't about getting to some kind of perfection. This is just about, for me, the intention is just to have a practical result. So if I feel better and I'm satisfied with that, great, success. Nothing else is needed. So it's not about arriving at no label or some sort of fantastical perfected state or something like that. It's just about noticing if I just make this shift in my focus and attention, does that produce an outcome that I'm satisfied with? If so, awesome. And if not, then I can continue to explore. So if I'm not satisfied with that, then I could notice, okay, well, um, what's prior to these labels and these stories? So it's just noticing subtler and subtler, and just taking one step at a time, and then noticing, am I satisfied with that? And if so, great. And if not, continue to explore. Uh, and then you say, example of how you stay with not knowing. So it's the same basic idea. I mean, the truth is we don't know. Uh, but you're asking how do you stay with not knowing? So I'm assuming, therefore, you already are able to recognize not knowing. So, but you're asking how to stay with not knowing. Well, maybe you don't need to stay with not knowing. Maybe, maybe not knowing isn't a state to stay in or to get in. Maybe not knowing is more of an attitude. So knowing the impulse to know, to label, to grasp, to cling, to control, maybe that impulse just continues to arise. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's not a problem. So so I could investigate that too. If there's an idea of, oh, I should get to some state of not knowing, I should stay in the state of not knowing, I could investigate, how do I know that? Do I actually know that? Is that actually true? And so I could just be open and curious regarding whatever it is that's happening, and just keep acknowledging, do I actually know this? No, I don't know this. I really don't know anything about anything. Not really. Um, it's my best answer for now. If you're not satisfied with that, let me know and I can see if I can come up with something better. Just going through the comments here. Uh, okay, so we've got, uh, so there's a question here. I don't know if this is a rhetorical question, as I don't know. I'll treat it as though it's not. It says, so we don't think it's actually possible on some level to actually experience the things we want. Uh, Correct. When you um, have associated what you want with what you don't want, then uh, then what you want becomes, in your thinking, it's an impossibility because it doesn't actually exist. What exists in your thinking is something that is kind of like what you want, but it's got all this other stuff attached to it. And therefore, yes, you believe it's not possible to have what you want because it doesn't exist in your thinking. What exists for you is something that's kind of similar, but it has all this stuff that you don't want. And that's why making that distinction is so important, because if you can't imagine it, if you can't accept even just in your thinking that the thing even exists, then it's not going to happen, right? So you have to be able to make that distinction. Somebody says, what we consciously want doesn't mean the same for the subconscious. Correct. Yeah. And then you give the specific example. If more money equals more problems for the subconscious mind, then that is what we will get. Well, yeah. I mean, doesn't your experience prove that? Uh, and then you say, unless we solve the subconscious associations. Yes, exactly right. Yeah. When you can clearly make the distinction so that you can really imagine and accept in your mind the reality and possibility of what you actually want, then things start to shift. Otherwise, you'll just subconsciously just keep doing the same things that produce the same results. All right, here's another one. I don't know if this is a question, but it's a long one, so I'll read it and see if there's a question here. It says, I've been experiencing burnout from work lately and desperately feel like I'm in need of a proper break slash vacation. However, I do realize I have some faulty beliefs that more money equals working more and having feelings around not being good enough because I don't have the capacity to keep going when others can. But I'm finding myself increasingly unhappy and numb at a job that I used to really enjoy and turning to not so healthy habits to feel better. Well, uh, so I mean, first of all, been there, done that, many times. So, so you're, I don't know if you consider me a good company, but if so, then you're in good company. And so I can understand and appreciate the challenge that you're experiencing. So, I do think that it can be helpful to get really clear about uh, to be really I mean honesty is really important. So I'll propose honesty in a couple specific ways here. So one would be to be really honest about uh, where your current choices and beliefs are leading to. Because I think what happens a lot of the time is we uh, believe that somehow uh, we're going to get a different outcome than we've always gotten by doing the same things. Because even if you haven't experienced this specific burnout in this specific job before, uh, I'm I would be willing to bet that you've done that this is a familiar thing overall. You've done this before in other areas of your life. And so you therefore know what the outcome of continuing to indulge the same beliefs and habits is. Now, obviously, you already consciously know that on some level, uh, but there's still to make that really explicit and really clear to yourself what the likely outcome of continuing to indulge these beliefs and behaviors uh, is going to be helpful, I think. So that would be one level. Because that can we generally don't take we generally don't uh, do anything to produce real change in our lives unless uh, we're experiencing pain that is so severe that it motivates us. The difficulty, though, is that when we allow ourselves to get into that, uh, when we continue to remain unconscious in the process, then what happens is by the time we are motivated to make change because of the intensity of the pain, uh, it's usually the kind of the worst place to try to make change from. So the sooner we can acknowledge fully the pain that we're already in, the better off we will be. Because if you can consciously really acknowledge the degree of pain, that can help you to find the motivation to make the change without having to make things worse before you have the motivation. So that's one thing. And one thing you can do is you could ask yourself, just a little thought experiment. What if you um, continued to have these beliefs and behave in these ways? What will your life look like in 1 year? And then if you continue to indulge these beliefs and behaviors, what will your life be like in 5 years? And if you continue to indulge these beliefs and behaviors, what will your life be like in 10 years? Um, just be really, really honest about it because you don't want to end up in that 5 years or 10 years or 1 year. You don't want to end up there. And so making that really clear for yourself will hopefully kind of intensify the level of pain that you can acknowledge enough that it will motivate you to really start to want to make the change now when you're in the best possible position to actually make the change rather than waiting. Then uh then the question would be, what is it that you want instead? So you know what you don't want, sort of. I mean, like you don't want to be burnt out and numb and uh, unhappy and turning to not so healthy habits, right? You don't want to be doing those things. So that's what you don't want. But then the question is, what do you want instead? So having clarity about the pain of your current habits is important to motivate the change, but then it's also really important to know where you're going because just trying to get away from something is not sufficient to actually produce real transformation. It's why people spend their whole lives just getting away from one thing and then another thing and then another thing and then another thing because just getting away doesn't produce real change, actually. It's just temporary reprieve. And so, because the real change happens within you, you can get away from temporarily from the ways that you've manifested that on the outside. But if you really want real change, then you have to make the change internally, and you have to know where you're going. You have to know what you want in order to do that, to give you direction. So the next thing would be to ask yourself, what is it you want instead? And then I would recommend going through the process that I described today so that you can really get clear on what it is that you want uh, as as distinguished from what it is that you don't want. And then let me know what happens for you once you get to that state, or if you have any challenges or questions that come up in that process. But once you can do that much, then I might be able to make other suggestions. But those would be the first things. All right. Somebody says, can you explain the true purpose of the what do I truly want exercise? Like, what would be the ideal outcome of having clarity on this? The goals might still be far away in terms of time, but will it help us move towards it? Is that right? Um, so, right. Thanks for asking that question because I didn't really um, touch on this point, why it's actually important. So, going back to what I said about how society has teaches us these two uh, ways to relate to desire. So this one of them being both of them end up leaving us unfulfilled. So as I did elaborate on this. If you chase after the things that aren't really yours, then it doesn't matter how much you achieve of what you don't really want. It will never really fulfill you. So you can achieve uh, 100% of what it is that you don't want, and it won't fulfill you. And then on the flip side is suppressing your authentic desire. And so this is um, a lot of people get seduced into this idea that uh, desire is the enemy, desire is going to lead you astray, desire just leads to suffering, uh, etc. And so they think, well, the real goal of life is to be desireless, which is kind of uh, it's one of those things that it's sort of a half truth, and therefore it's very seductive. And uh, but the problem with a half truth is that it's a half truth is not the truth. So it will never actually give you what the truth can give you. And if you're seduced by this idea, as I had been, I was very seduced by this idea of being desireless. Um, but if you're seduced by that, then you'll think that you'll think that you're doing the right thing. You'll think that you'll even think that you're succeeding in that. And then you'll wonder why you feel so awful. Because you can get to a point where you're like, yeah, I don't even have any desires. Look how spiritually evolved I am. I don't want anything. And you're like, but why am I so depressed? Doesn't make any sense. I've achieved the ultimate spiritual outcome. I don't want anything, but I just feel so awful. Is this what enlightenment feels like? No, but that's the deception of it. So, if you're, if you've been seduced by that, to some degree, we all have been, if you've been seduced by, this idea of suppression, suppression of desire is good and desirable, and that's ironic. But if that's what you've been led to believe, and if you've gone down that path, which again, to some degree, all of us have, then it can be very tempting to just continue down that path, to think, oh, I just haven't tried hard enough. I just need to go further down this path. If I just go further down the path, like, I guess I still have a few little desires left, but if I can just get rid of those desires, then I'll finally be enlightened. And so it's really tempting to keep doing that because it's what's already familiar. And by the way, because going the other direction in regard to that feels so dangerous. You you'll have these fears like, oh, but then I'll lose myself. Here's a clue, you already did lose yourself, right? But that's a lot of the time the fear is, oh, in the past I had desire in the long distant past. I had desire and I lost myself. I became, enmeshed in codependency and I was disappointed and oh, woe is me. And it's far better and safer to not desire anything. So I sure as hell don't want to go back to having desire again. So again, half truths, because yeah, of course that was dysfunctional and painful and all that. But the the way that the way we understood that, the lessons we took from that were distortions. Suppression of desire will not work. So you have desire. Desire is part of desire is a prerequisite for anything. All action, all movement, all activity, all life is dependent upon desire. There is nothing that's happening here that does not is not based on desire. Your life is based on desire. You exist as an expression of desire. But then we try to play this game and say, "Oh, no, 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 I have no desire." No, it's not true. There is desire. Desire is what is giving rise to you. Your job is not to suppress desire. Your job is to allow for the fulfillment of the desire. Not not all desire, not borrowed desire, not desire that's not authentic to you. Of course not. But your authentic desire, yes, because you got two choices there. You can suppress it, or you can allow it. Suppression doesn't work. Allowing seems very dangerous. But what are you going to do? I mean, you got to just take a look and be honest about the situation. That's why I described the whole thing today, right? If you can recognize that that's what you've done, and you can recognize that the outcome is not what you want, then now you know. You can either continue to do what you've always done, which reliably produces what you don't want, or you could risk something different. And I'm proposing that to allow yourself to really come into contact with and acknowledge and align with your authentic desire is the is what allows for your fulfillment. I mean, to me that's self-explanatory, but if that's not explanatory, if not for you, let me know. But to me, like that's it. That's the point. We want fulfillment. Fulfillment. If you don't have fulfillment, I don't know what you're doing, right? I mean, to me, fulfillment is the whole point. But we've been programmed to work against our own fulfillment because we've been programmed to suppress and deny the desire that has given rise to our own life. It's sort of like the wave, in the ocean, the wave, and it would be like, okay, here's the wave, and then we're like, oh no, no, I deny the wave. There is no wave. Let's not allow the wave. It's like, what are you talking about? The wave's already here. But through the denial and suppression, we're saying, no, 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 no. And so it doesn't get to resolve. It just is always there. It's like, I really, really, really want this resolution. I really want this. You're like, no, 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 no. Bad, bad, dangerous. No, deny it, suppress it. Can't allow that possibly. But it's like, what are you talking about? It's already started. It's already here. It's already waving. Its only purpose and desire, its fulfillment is to complete itself. But this is what we're doing. We're like, no, 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 desire bad, desire dangerous. But you are the desire. You're already here. This is the desire. It's already here. And so it's just to allow and acknowledge that. That's it. So for your own fulfillment, that's why. If that's not clear, let me know, please. Then we've got a question here. It says, so creation of a desire is holding that image for enough time that it manifests. Uh, that's an interesting question. So creation of a desire is holding that image for enough time that it manifests. Technically, I would say creation of the desire is synonymous with the image. Uh, the but then the fulfillment, the complete manifestation of it is the result of allowing it. And to allow it, you're saying to hold that image for enough time. You could that would be one way to understand it. I would say uh, that I, I think it's more just about getting out of the way at that point. I mean, it's like I use the analogy of the wave. So the wave already has begun. Okay. So the image is already there. That's the beginning of the wave. It's already there. It's already begun. Uh, what do you need to do at that point to allow for the resolution of the wave? Just get out of the way. You don't need to do anything. It's already there. It's already happening. It's already occurring. Um, so in a similar way, that once the creation has begun, the image is already there, and you know that it's already there because you have a sense of it. I mean, the sense of lack or longing or the desire within you is only possible because that has already begun. Hopefully that's clear. If it's not clear, contemplate it. Because the only way that you could have the desire or the sense of longing or lack is because the process has already begun. That creation has already begun, and therefore its completion is inevitable. It's just a matter of getting out of the way. So the 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 process of acknowledging the desire in the first place isn't because you need to create it. You are that creation. It's already here. It's you're not going to create it, but it's just to then be able to get out of the way because the habit has been to interfere. That's the thing. The habit is to interfere. And so the acknowledge to acknowledge the desire is not because you need to create it. The creation has already occurred. It's just so that you can get out of your own way to let go of the habits that are interfering, which are creating so much pain for you. All right, we've got another question here. If I gained more clarity and got an idea of how I could have what I want in the way that I seem to want it, is it still possible I package bad things with it? Well, sure. Uh, but but you don't even need to be perfect in this. It's just you just need to get out of you just need to let go of enough of the interference that uh, you're not holding yourself back any longer. So don't strive for perfection with it. If you just keep, I mean, and the person who's asking this question, I know because we've had interactions, I know that you're already doing the process and you're getting clarity and you're seeing results with that. So you're already doing it. And so you don't need to be perfect in that. You just continue with what you're doing. You'll keep seeing good results with it. Then this person says also for the feeling before the label isn't having a location, also having a label about the feeling. Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, that's why I said that those sensation and location are also labels for sure. I was just pointing out that it's a subtler level. And that's why I said if that gives the result that you're looking for, then that's sufficient. If that doesn't give the result that you're looking for, you can always go before those labels as well. Another person says the main indicator that we are on the right path is how we feel. No, not really. I mean, let me say yes and no. Is that a helpful answer? Here's why I would say no. The no part of it is this: that that you can expect that you're likely to feel resistance uh, to anything that's unfamiliar to you, and yet much of what you want is actually, in some sense, unfamiliar to you. So, um, and this is a mistake that I notice a lot of people make is they say, well, I should just feel good and I should you know, just chase after good feelings. It's an interesting idea, but how well is that working? And for most people, it doesn't work that well. And the reason why I think is because of what I just described is that you want something that is to some degree unfamiliar to you, and you're going to feel resistance to what is unfamiliar. So if you're only chasing after what you consider to be good feelings, unless you consider resistance to be a good feeling, then it's probably not going to work out ideally. So so I think it's really useful to keep that in mind that um, the the meaning that you assign to feeling is could be misleading to you. So I wouldn't give too much importance to the meaning that you assign to feeling. With that said, uh, feeling feeling as a uh, channel or a path as an activity, feeling, not specific feelings or specific sensations or the meanings assigned to those, but rather the activity of feeling is definitely um, a useful path. I would I definitely recommend uh, feeling without attaching meaning to it. It's a somewhat subtle thing that I think most people probably won't understand right away. But but if it does make sense to you, then that can be really useful. But the meaning that you assign to feeling can be definitely misleading. So I would caution against uh, giving too much importance to that. Um, okay. So this person says why we need to work on de-associate it from what I want. So taking away the part we don't want, like from the packaging, is taking out from the suitcase the interfering. See if I can understand this. The yeah, so if you, it's just that, like I was saying earlier, that we have habits of interfering with the natural fulfillment of desire. And um, there's nothing inherently bad about that. It's not like that's morally wrong or something like that, but it's more just that um, if you find that to be painful, which you probably do, then I'm just pointing out that you have an option. You don't have to continue to do that. And so the so the a mechanism by which that interference or resistance occurs is through the habit of associating what you don't want with what you do want, and therefore creating that resistance. So by releasing those associations, then you free yourself from that habit of resistance, which can relieve you of the pain. So that's my answer as to why. Somebody here says perhaps we could say that the less internal conflict we experience between what we want and how much we resist it inside could be a good indicator of being in a good path. Yeah, that seems like a pretty good working definition. And then last thing in here for now is somebody says, I remember that Buddha said that any attachment, even to the pleasant feelings, can be counterproductive. Well, with different words. Yeah. Uh, and the the difficulty is that uh, that that's it's really easy for for those of us who have been seduced by this way of relating with desire to suppress, to then interpret that idea to mean I that attachment is bad and I should detach, and therefore I should have no desire. And that just goes so well with suppression. So then we just keep suppressing and keep causing ourselves pain. But the detachment, I mean, think about this. The real attachment here is the real motivation in the suppression is the attachment to my idea of myself. So I want to avoid humiliation. I want to avoid abandonment. I want to avoid disappointment. I want to avoid loss. For who? For my idea of myself. So the linchpin of the whole thing is my attachment to my idea of myself. But the desire is impersonal. It's not my desire. I am the desire. That's the thing. The desire is movement. I am that movement. Anything I can say about myself is only that movement. It is only that desire. But then I'm attaching to this movement and saying I'm I am this movement. I am the creator of the movement. I am the owner of this movement. I'm responsible for this movement. And desire is bad. I must not have desire. So now I'm just fighting with myself. So uh so the real detachment then would has no problem with desire whatsoever. Desire is simply movement. It's nothing else other than that. It's just movement. I mean, you could say other things about it, but it's certainly all of the negative things that we might associate with it are really all just come back to this sense of I need to protect myself from humiliation, shame, frustration, disappointment, abandonment, and so forth. And when you realize that uh, that's all just a misunderstanding, and the desire itself is impersonal, then what's the problem? There's no problem. That's all for today. Thanks to all of you. Blessings to you. Take care. Bye for now.